Hey everybody, today we're showing you how we built this DIY traditional style crib for our daughter. It's going in her nursery and it was such a fun project to build. We started out by cutting down the plywood sheets for this using our Craig adaptive cutting system. This was the first time we've used this system, which is perfect for cutting down large sheets of plywood. It was fun to use this plunge saw and cut the plywood pieces to size. This project uses a couple pieces of plywood as the backer and as the front and side panels, and then it'll use a bunch of slats to create all the bars and railings. We used the table saw to strip down all of the slats and railings for this project. It's a lot of little bars that you're going to have to sand. That was by far the hardest part of this project, was ripping this down and then cutting them all to size with the miter saw and then going back and sanding them all. Because it's all these small pieces of wood, you got to get all the edges, all the sides, all the corners, everything, and that took a really long time. But in the end, it's going to be worth it because it looks beautiful. Once everything was cut down, we started off by gluing the legs. Our legs are 2 3/4 inch pieces of wood glued together for the front legs and then longer sets in the back for the back legs. In order to make this the traditional style, that's why we had the taller back to the shorter front so it would look more regal. We used clamps and wood glue to put the legs together and then let them dry. While that was happening, we used the brand new Craig Jig 520 pocket hole jig. This is a cool thing that clamps directly onto a piece of wood, which was perfect for this gigantic piece of plywood. There was no way I was putting this in a traditional jig, so using the 520 to squeeze clamp it right onto the wood and drill my pocket holes there made it really easy to use. Once all the pocket holes were drilled for the back piece, we attached it to the back legs. We used wood glue and pocket hole screws and clamps to make sure that this was on solid. This is basically forming the entire structural back of the crib. Once the back was done, it was time to move on to the front pieces and side pieces. That meant a lot of pocket holes in each and every one of these slats. There's one hole in each end of every single one of the slats. That is going to be the structural support to hold all of these in together. We also used wood glue when putting the slats into all of the railings. That's going to make sure that everything holds up well. We also put pocket holes into the angled ends for the side railings. There's no difference here in terms of putting pocket holes into an angle. It's only a 10-degree mitered angle, so there's really no issue with that. Then it was time to start building the front and the side panels. The front panel was each of those individual slats that we cut and sanded and put pocket holes in, attached to a railing on one side using wood glue and pocket hole screws. As you can see, the way that we got this perfectly right was to cut a piece of wood that was the exact spacing we would need in between each of the slats and moved that in between. That means there's no measuring. It makes it a lot easier to go rapid fire with these pocket holes. On a crib, it's recommended that there's no more than 2 3/8 of an inch in between each slat, so we actually did 2 1/4 to make sure everything was perfect. Same deal with the sides. We had angled pieces that went into angled side railings, and we just used the same spacer to make sure that everything was lined up exactly how we wanted it. You want to make sure that you follow any regulations for building a crib in your state so that you have the perfect safetyness for your child. Make sure when you're building a crib that you're enjoying the experience, but also making sure that it's as safe as possible for your child. Once all the pieces were structurally put together, we hand routed some molding to go inside of all the plywood pieces. We used just simple wood glue because these are on the outside and don't affect the structural integrity of these pieces. We used a traditional router bit to glue these into the front panels of this front side and the sides, as well as onto the interior of the back panel. If you get our woodworking plans for this, you'll see exactly where that molding actually goes. Finally, the last piece to build was the base. This is the base that holds the mattress up, but also connects all 4 of the side, front, and back pieces together. This is a pretty integral piece right here. The base is just 2 long boards and 5 boards connecting them in between. We used wood glue and pocket poles to secure all of this together, put it all together, and then this is what is going to connect everything in the end. After all of the individual pieces were done, we added a whitewash stain to each of the pieces individually. This was a little bit tough to do in between all of the slots, but it worked out in the end. Say hi to my little helper, he was a lot of fun. Once everything was stained, it was time to assemble it. Because a crib is too big to fit through a doorway, this is a modular system that allows all 5 of those pieces to be carried up individually into the room and then attached in the room. That means all of the pieces together have wood glue and screws holding them together, but once it's in place, you can only use the pocket hole screws or you'll never be able to get out of your room again. We attached the sides to the base, attached that to the back, and then attached all of that to the front piece. Lift it up and it is ready for the mattress. We drop the mattress right into place and this thing looks beautiful. It fits perfectly into our daughter's pink room. We got little rainbows, goes well with the scallop on our wall. We love the little touch of classical molding as well as the traditional style of the entire crib. If you want the plans for this project or to see more, go to charlestoncrafted.com and get your own.